This video is for order of operations. And how we fold this foldable is this way. You're going to fold it like this. And then over here like this. So parentheses is the P. And you do that first. Exponents is next, or powers. So we like to use the word exponent so it doesn't have the same word. Multiplication and division is next, and adding and subtracting is last. And this is when you don't have any variables. This is when you're evaluating the expression. So the problems look something like this. I know that this is a little hard. Sorry about me cutting it. But the first step is the parentheses, or grouping symbols, because sometimes they don't look like parentheses, they look like brackets, but we mostly use parentheses in algebra. So what we do is anything inside the parentheses is what we do first. The next step is to evaluate the powers. So what you're going to do on the next step is the exponents. So this looks like 5 squared, which is 25. I still want us to write parentheses instead of the decimal because you're multiplying these two numbers together. After you do the exponent, the next step is multiplication or division. So you're going to do it as you see it from left to right. So this one's the one that goes first, and this one's the one that goes second. From left to right is how you do the multiplication or division. Once you have all of those done, you do adding and subtracting in order. So here we did the multiplication first, and we wrote it down as a second step to do the division second. Now we only have subtraction and addition. So you're going to do this step first, which gives you the negative 93, and then you do this one second. So from left to right, you see that minus sign first, and so you do that, and then you do the addition part that's afterwards. So let's do a little bit of practice. We have this one over here, and when you have several grouping symbols, what you're trying to do is do the one most on the inside. What you have to do also is rewrite everything that you did not change. So 48 divided by 2 cubed times 3 plus 5. And you have this set of grouping symbols, which say 4 minus. And we're going to do this set of grouping symbols. 5 minus 3 is 2. We don't need parentheses anymore because we're not multiplying. So we're going to just write the 2 and then the brackets. This right here is still grouping symbols, so that's what you're going to do next. What you don't move or change, you're going to go ahead and leave. So this is 48 divided by 2 to the third power times 3. Remember, we don't use that dot anymore. We use parentheses, so I'm going to go ahead and add the parentheses on there, even though they mean the same thing. Plus 5. And we are going to leave parentheses on here because this means multiplication. So 4 minus 2 is 2. And that's going to end up being multiplied. So that's all of our grouping symbols. The next part, so that's the parentheses, would be exponents. On here, we have that 2 cubed. So we have 48, and what we did was the 2 cubed, and I'm going to get my calculator, or you can do 2 times 2 times 2, so you could get the 2 cubed, which is 8. That's still being multiplied by 3, and we're still going to add 5 that's multiplied by 2. Okay, so we did the exponent. The next part is multiplication or division. You have to read it from left to right, So right here we have this division first. 48 divided by 8 is 6. So I'm going to write 6, and then we just leave the rest alone. What's happening is with this one parentheses is that we're multiplying the 6 and a 3. Plus 5, 2. So we did the first division that we saw. Now we need to do the first multiplication we see, which is this one right here. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 5 times 2. You could actually do this at the same time, but it tends to confuse students, so I will make it a separate step. We're still not finished with all of the multiplication and all of the division that I see. We still have one more. So we're going to rewrite that 18 plus 10. We're done with all the multiplication and division that's on the line. So now we have to go for adding and subtracting, and we read them from left to right. The only step that's left is the addition, which makes it 18. For the next one, when we have a numerator like this, they tend to be stuck together. And the denominator is also stuck together. So we have to do the numerator and the denominator first before we can do the actual division. So this one changes our order just a little bit. But we still have to do in order. The grouping symbols, the parentheses, are the numerators and the denominators. But we can't get that done first until we do what's inside of them. So we're going to move to exponents. Making that, this one, the one we have to do first. We can actually do this at the same time because if we have a different group for the numerator and a different group for the denominator. If you're separating them like that confuses you, we can do it at separate steps. So 2 to the 5th power is 32 minus 6 times 2. On the denominator, we have 3 to the 3rd power, which is 27, minus 5 times 3 minus 2. Okay, for the numerator, which is a separate group, and it should have parentheses, we need to move on. We did the exponent. Now we need multiplication or division. The multiplication is done right here. So we have 32 minus 12. We could also do the multiplication we see in the denominator, since they're two separate groups. And that gives you 27 minus 15 minus 2. This is the last problem. We're going to do the order of operations for it. Remember, the first thing that we have to do is inside parentheses or grouping symbols. So that's right here. And that's the P for parentheses. Four minus 2 is 2, so we rewrite the rest of it. That's a plus sign. 2 can stay with parentheses or without parentheses. I recommend that we leave it in parentheses. Just in case this were negative, we would do it correctly in the calculator. Cubed divided by 4 times 3. The next thing from parentheses is exponents. The only exponent we have is this one right here. 2 to the 3rd power is 8. So I have 10 minus 2 plus 8 divided by 4 times 3. Remember, we don't use those dots anymore, so I'm going to put it in parentheses because that's multiplication. So what's the difference with these parentheses and these? Is that between them there's operations, so we know we have to do what's inside of them. Here, between these two, there's not a visible operation, so we know it's multiplication. The next step that we have to do is multiplication and division. Remember, it's from left to right, what we see first. So the first multiplication or division that we see is right here. (10 minus 2 plus 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then we rewrite the times 3. We have to do it again, multiplication and division from left to right. The one we see is right here. So it'd be 10 minus 2 plus 6. The last one is addition and subtraction. The first one that we see is the subtraction right here, 10 minus 2. I'll give you 8 plus 6. And last 8 plus 6 is 14.